Hey guys, so this is my review for One Piece chapter 1023, Two Peas in a Pod, and I sort of had to do a review for this one because it was one of the best chapters I've read in a long time, and I just want to say off the bat that it is an instant 10 out of 10 for me, an instant A+. I forget what I'm using for the rating system here. It was fantastic, and yeah, I guess if we just get straight into it. First of all, we open up with a colour spread, which was awesome. Yeah, it was really cool. It had a bunch of side characters like all battling together. You had Bartholomew, you had Mihawk, you had, well, a lot of the warlords really. But yeah, it was a really cool spread, and you know, I wouldn't mind at all if we got like a filler episode, or you know, that scene animated. That would be really cool. Yeah, and so kicking off our chapter pretty much picked up where we left off, and you know, showed more of the battle between Zoro and Sanji and King and Queen, and yeah, that stuff was great. And you know, this is the thing with the battles in manga in general, like even in One Piece, like a lot of the times like battles are happening in manga, I'm not all that interested. I prefer it when it's animated, you know, and I think when this does get animated, it's going to look amazing. So this is almost to me like a sneak preview of what the actual battle is going to be like when it gets fully animated. So it's exciting, but I want to talk about more sort of like a lot of the plot points that are sort of dropped during this chapter. So the first thing I really want to talk about is Marco in this chapter gives us like a very brief flashback of a conversation he had with Whitebeard, where Whitebeard talks to him about an old land that used to be on top of the Red Line. He says that it wasn't always just Mary Joa, that there also used to be a place called God's Land, and it's almost mythical in nature. Like, Marco didn't really believe him when he was talking about it. I think this is going to be incredibly relevant going forward. I think this is probably the most significant thing that happened this chapter, the most significant drop. And I had to read that page like a couple of times just to make sure I was getting it, because yeah, I think this is going to be super, super important going forward. Could these people be the D-Clan? Or the other alternative, of course, is that they could be the race known as the Lunarians, which gets revealed a little bit later in the chapter too, and it seems like this is what King actually is, and that's, you know, how he's able to like set parts of his body on fire despite the fact that he doesn't have a devil fruit, is he's a member of this race that I think they lived on top of the Red Line too. It was confirmed. I think Sanji might have a little bit of Lunarian blood in him. I think so, because how else do we explain his, you know, Diablo Jambo attack? You can't really explain it other than haki magic, I guess. And the next thing I want to talk about is Zoro here, reminding some of the vassals of somebody called, and I had to write it down. I tried to remember. Shimotsuki Ushimaru. Apparently is a descendant of Ryuma. The fan base have been saying that Zoro is very reminiscent of Ryuma, who cuts down the dragon in Oda's spin-off Monster, and you know, the Ryuma that actually appears in One Piece itself, but he's a skeleton. I don't think you see him as a young man. But yeah, the fact that in canon now you have like characters in the story itself comparing Zoro to, well, not Ryuma himself, but a descendant of Ryuma, I think that is, you know, very much a bolster to the theory, on the people who have the theory that Zoro is a descendant, either directly or like a spiritual descendant of Ryuma the samurai. And Zoro has this like epic moment where King sort of like fights dirty against him, and Zoro's like, yeah, fair enough, I guess we could fight dirty. I wouldn't be opposed to tearing your throat out. And then wrapping up the chapter, you get finally the shot of Momonosuke in his adult dragon form, which looks absolutely amazing. Very Shenron, other than the fact that it's pink, I guess. But then the last thing I want to talk about is just, there was a little panel of Shinobu like bawling her eyes out, saying that Momonosuke really reminded her of someone. Now the implication, of course, is that 28-year-old Momonosuke reminds her of Odin. However, I think this might be a red herring, and I think what he really reminds her of is Kaido, like in the dragon form sort of thing. It'd be too obvious, you know, that it's Odin. I feel like he's trying to fake us out with that one. Otherwise, like, there's no reason why Oda would hold that piece of information from us, because we already assume or the fan base already assumes for the most part that, you know, adult Momonosuke is going to look somewhat like his father. Series going forward though, I think, like, yeah, next week we're probably going to get the climax to the King Queen Sanji Zoro fight. Whether they'll split them off, like, or whether they'll both deal with them. I'd like it if they'd both deal with them together. I think this is really going to be the answer to our Will of D question. I think these people aren't the Lunarians. I think the Lunarians are just more residents of the Red Line. You know, I think it's going to be the case that there were lots of residents once upon a time upon the Red Line, and the Lunarians were one of them. Maybe the Celestial Dragons were another, and then you also had the people of God's Land, you know. And I think the people of God's Land are going to be the Will of D people. I think that's pretty much wrapping up the video. Sorry about all the squinting during this video. I'm facing the sun, which is probably a bad mistake, but the field was really busy the other way, so I didn't want to catch people in the video if, you know, they didn't want to be in it, sort of thing. Yeah, I hope you're doing well. I hope you really liked the video. If you did, please like and subscribe and comment below. I guess I'll see you again in future. All right, bye guys.